Why, hello there, everyone. My name is Mike, and this is TheBoredCyborg. Welcome back to yet another episode. Today, we are going to be doing a very special unboxing here. I want to give a shout out first and foremost to my buddy Colton. We did a big trade. I traded him a bunch of Star Wars novels and steelbooks, and he gave me a box full of Blu-rays here. A lot of which are from the same distributor, which you'll see in a second, or you'll probably see by the title of the video. And I want to give him a shout out. I want to give his Instagram a shout out. It's a really funny name, ghoulies.can.read. So that's ghoulies.can.read. And he's got a really cool Instagram, and he's been, recollecting a lot of the things from his childhood and sort of documenting that on Instagram. So take a look at his Instagram. Show him some love because he really hooked me up with a cool trade. I'm trying not to show his address and all that. But thank you, Colton, so much for making this trade happen. And we're going to jump right into the unboxing of it. I'd love to know what you guys have picked up lately, either through trades or maybe just an online order, thrifting, whatever it may be. So feel free to leave that down in the comments below, and we'll get a little discussion re-rolling. And without further ado, we are going to crack carefully into the package with my trusty blade here. I have a legitimate razor knife here, finally. And let's get it cracking. Again, I want to do this very carefully because these are not the easiest to find Blu-rays, especially a few of them, which I'm very excited about. And let's see. All right, there we are. Look at that. A bunch of Blu-rays and DVDs there, mostly Blu-rays. And they're all, the titles are hiding, so as I pull them out, they're going to be surprises for both of us, despite me knowing, for the most part, what's in here. So, let's start with the DVDs, actually. First up, we have Hot Stuff. Hot Stuff is a Dom DeLuise directed comedy here from 1979, so late 70s. Dom DeLuise stars in it as well. And let's see, Jerry Reed, Suzanne Plachette, not names that I recognize. Looks like it came loose in transit. Looks like the case is broken. It's in perfect shape, though. It survived the journey. This one I don't know much about, guys. Beloved comedian Dom DeLuise stars in and directs this delightful caper spoof. So it seems to be a spoof on the heist films, like a parody of heist films from the late 70s. I hadn't heard of this, and I thought it would be a pretty cool one to check out, or at least to add to the collection here, the comedy collection. I like Dom DeLuise, always have, so hopefully this is a fun little parodical caper, as it states on the back. Next up, we have the Odessa File. This is a really cool one. This is directed by Ronald Neame, with a Christmas Dream, with a theme song apparently sung by Perry Como. I don't know much about this movie, but it's a Jon Voight political thriller that from the late 70s, I believe, that I've been wanting to see, or 74, so mid-70s. The year 1963, the place Hamburg, Germany, an elderly Jewish man commits suicide, leaving a diary which falls into the hands of a freelance newspaper, Peter Miller, played by Jon Voight. He's a journalist. I'm not sure. I don't want to read too far into it because I like to surprise myself with these movies. Columbia put this one out. I feel like this one is also has been released by a pretty shoddy distributor, but this is a legit Columbia release here, and I'm looking forward to checking this one out as well. Again, perfect shape. Of course, Colton wouldn't send me anything that was beat up. Next up, California Suite. When he showed me this, I was like, I have never even heard of this movie, and it's amazing how many movies Richard Pryor actually made in his time, in his short time making movies. He must have 20 plus films in like a 10-year span. He was obviously very popular at the time, but he pops up in so many little movies. I'm like, what the hell is this? But with that said, we're going to give you the cast here, an amazing cast, an ensemble cast. Alan Alda, Michael Caine, Bill Cosby, Jane Fonda, Walter Matthau, Elaine May, Richard Pryor, and Maggie Smith. So yeah, quite the cast here. I'm sorry, I can't say Bill Cosby with a straight face anymore. What an awful human being. Wasn't he released from prison too recently? Anyway, California Suite is a Neil Simon screenplay, so that's a good sign. And then Herbert Ross did the direction. Herbert Ross, I don't think I know the name. Sounds vaguely familiar. But this one, again, seems just sort of like an ensemble comedy from the 80s. Or I'm sorry, 70s. So a few 70s films here and a couple 70s comedies, which I've been wanting to dig into, to be honest, because 70s comedy is a genre that I haven't really gotten into. I grew up with 80s comedies, of course, and 90s comedies and so on. But I really want to go back to the 70s because it's one of my favorite eras of film, decades of film, and I've not seen many comedies from it, except for the classics like Cheech and Chong and Airplane. Well, no, actually, Airplane was 80. Yeah, so I need to dig into the 70s comedies. Oh, here we go. Yes. Peckinpah, one of the few Peckinpah films I had yet to add to the collection. I can't wait to do a video on Peckinpah because he doesn't have too many films, so it'll be easy to sit down and talk about all, whatever it might be, 10 to 15. I don't think he has more than 10, to be honest with you. He chose his projects wisely, we'll say. This is a really nice Anchor Bay collection of the Osterman Weekend, which I believe was his last film, Peckinpah's last film. And it came out in 1983. I could be wrong about it being his last film, but I'm pretty confident it is. 83. Craig T. Nelson, Rutger Hauer, John Hurt, Dennis Hopper, and Burt Lancaster, based on a Robert Ludlum book. I mean, that is quite the cast. Let's see who is the music on the back. Lalo Schifrin did the music. You guys would know Lalo Schifrin's music if you have seen Enter the Dragon and a bunch of other films. Enter the Dragon is probably his most famous score. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Very good music. Osterman Weekend. Very excited to add this to the Peckinpah collection here. It's a nice 2-disc edition with a nice booklet, man. Anchor Bay used to do such good work for some of these more obscure films from the 70s, 80s. And I miss Anchor Bay, to be honest. They might still be around, but they're a shadow of their former selves. They used to do really good work. And now for the Blu-rays. Now, most of these are going to be Kino releases. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Colton, but I think he had purchased a bunch from the Kino sale, and the ones that he wasn't really feeling, he was willing to trade. So a lot of those I got in the trade here. And I'm very excited to dig into these. Again, correct me if I'm wrong on that, Colton, but I've gathered that's kind of what the deal was. Because I missed that Kino sale. So in essence, I didn't really miss it because of the trade. So I'm very grateful. Let's jump in. Oh yeah. Transylvania 65000. Here's a little 80s monster comedy that my father showed me when I was growing up. I really loved this film. Or I'll say I really liked this movie growing up, and then as a teenager, as I would watch it later on in my life, it would kind of grow on me more and more. It's not the best comedy in the world, but it's got a good cast. It's got a quirky sense of humor, a very, quirky sense of humor. That's the word. Dry sort of atmosphere. It almost has a British feel, but I don't know. It's like an American and British amalgam in terms of comedy. Hard to describe. Directed by Rudy DeLuca. This film came out in 85 and, has all your classic monsters like the Wolfman and Frankenstein's monster, if I could remember correctly. It's been a really long time, actually. I probably haven't seen this in almost 34 now. I probably haven't seen this in like 10 years. Maybe 8 to 10 years, something like that. So it's due for a rewatch. Jeff Goldblum, Carol Kane, Jeffrey Jones, Gina Davis, Michael Richards, Donald Gibb. Is that one of the Gibb brothers? This is a really fun movie, guys. I'm so excited to have added this to the collection. I sold my DVD off months ago when we were compiling the trade here. And as usual, Kino does a wonderful job. I don't know why I'm checking the Blu-rays. They're going to be perfect. So that is Transylvania 65000. Next up, oh yeah. A lot of these I haven't seen. This is one of them. Buried Alive. This is really cool because this is the first film by really an iconic, almost legendary director, Frank Darabont, who was mostly known for his 3 major Stephen King adaptations. Most recently, The Mist, which is fantastic. If you guys haven't seen The Mist in black and white, track down that Blu-ray that has the black and white cut, because Darabont originally conceived the film and wanted to make the film, according to him, in black and white originally, and it just has this 50s monster movie feel to it with the black and white infused. It's a better film in black and white. I loved The Mist in color, but watching it in black and white, it all came full circle. It felt authentically black and white with the shadow play and this creepy monsters. They were so much cooler in black and white, guys. So check out The Mist in black and white. How many times did I just say black and white? I think it was like 12. Frank Darabont directs and writes. I'm pretty confident. No, he did not write this one. Mark Patrick Carducci wrote this based on a story by David Davies. This film came out in 1990, PG-13, which is interesting, and it is a horror film. Jennifer Jason Leigh, Tim Matheson, William Atherton, Clint Goodman. But this one is one I've been wanting to check out for a very long time, strictly because it's Frank Darabont. Again, by the way, Shawshank Redemption, Green Mile were the other two Stephen King films that he directed, and he's really known for. But Buried Alive was his first in 1990. So excited to have this in the horror collection, and I really want to check it out because Darabont's a good director, so I'm sure even his first directorial debut is a solid horror picture. Next up, we've got The Barbarians. Yes, the Barbarian brothers as the Barbarians. Look at how diesel they are. Look at how chiseled those chaps are. So if you guys don't know, the Barbarian brothers, I don't even know their real names. I guess that's what they were kind of known as. They did a film called Double Trouble. They were twin brothers, and they popped up in a bunch of late 80s, early 90s sort of action comedy kind of things. And The Barbarians is the one that kicked that off. Double Trouble is the one that I've seen. There were a couple others. I want to say they did 3 or 4 films, maybe 4 or 5 films, and then kind of faded away into the waste bin of the 90s. But this one, I could see Michael Berryman right on the back here. Richard Lynch. I love Richard Lynch. You guys would know him as the villain from Invasion USA with Chuck Norris. The Russian bad guy. Really, really good. Ruggero Deodato did this, actually. I didn't know it was an Italian production until now. So yeah, really excited to check this out. 1987. Somehow this film and all of the Barbarian Brothers films eluded me when I was growing up in the early 90s going to the video store. I don't know why. They have my name all over them, but I never saw them at the video stores, never picked them up and checked them out. Oh, it has some of the other... Peter Paul and David Paul are the names of the brothers. They were in DC Cab even prior to this. Think Big, Double Trouble. Yeah, Think Big is the other one I was thinking of. So this, I believe, is just a fantasy film, like a goofy fantasy film. Kino put this out, of course, and I can't wait to check this out. Oh, yeah, I love when they do... Oh, no, Kino didn't put this out. This is an MGM release, like a straight-up MGM release. Scorpion releasing... Kino Lorber. Alright, so it was a joint venture here. And it's got the reversible cover art. I don't know, I think I prefer that. Like that badass 80s hand-drawn poster right there. It's amazing. I don't know if it's newly commissioned, but it's really good. So that is The Barbarians, starring the forgotten Barbarian brothers. Alright, next up we have The Good Son. This one was put out by Kino as well. I have a couple in here, maybe 1 or 2 that weren't, so that's why I'm mentioning it. Joseph Rubin directed, 1993 film, The Good Son. I remember catching this on like HBO or Cinemax growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s. But it was only the latter half of the film, so I actually know how this ends. Like, I want to say a cliffhanger. It ends on a cliff, as far as I could remember. A very startling scene. Macaulay Culkin plays the good son, and Elijah Wood plays the other brother, who is the actual good son. Macaulay Culkin's kind of evil. It's kind of like an Omen thing going on as far as I could remember. Again, guys, it's been ages since I've seen the last half of this movie. But that's why I wanted to pick it up, because I need to sit down and watch this one. I hear really good things about it as a whole. Acts of violence and terror involving a disturbed child. Rated R for acts of violence and terror involving a disturbed child. Sounds like my kind of thing. That is The Good Son. Who else is in this? Elijah Wood, Wendy Crewson, David Morse is always good. Character actor David Morse popping up. Elmer Bernstein, who did the music. I believe Elmer Bernstein did the music for Ghostbusters. No reversible cover art here. I guess they pick and choose... which movies get the reversible cover art. Maybe it's based on the joint ventures and the amount of money that they have to put into them. Not sure. Next up, we've got... talking about 70s comedies here. Colton had a bunch of these. Porky's 2 and Porky's Revenge. I guess Porky's 3. So now I have all... No, I think there's a 4th Porky's, if I'm not mistaken. I have Porky's 1, 2, and 3 on Blu-ray. And to be honest, I think I'm good. I'm not even... when I watched Porky's when I was in my teens, I wasn't even a huge fan of it. It's a very raunchy, irreverent comedy. And it takes a very special, nuanced one for me to really love it. I'm not a fan of Animal House. It's not because I'm offended or anything. It's not because of the raunchiness, because of the irreverence. I just don't really vibe with the sense of humor, usually. Porky's, though, I want to give the series another try, because like I said, I haven't watched the first Porky since I was a teen. So, watching it when I shouldn't have been watching it. Early teens, probably 13, 14 years old. 1983, the sequel 2 came out, and then 1985, the third one came out. Directed, actually the second one is directed by Bob Clark, and I'm pretty sure Bob Clark did the first one too, so that is a good sign. He directed 1 and 2, and then of course Bob Clark, one of the most diverse directors. Black Christmas, Christmas Story, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, Porky's, Baby Geniuses, and sadly we lost him in a car accident. Him and his son, I think they were filming or finished up filming Baby Geniuses or something, and they got into a car accident, and both of them perished. So that was a great loss, and rest in peace to Bob Clark, but a great director with a great legacy. And James Comack directed the third one here, Porky's Revenge. So there you go, guys. I don't know much about these sequels at all. I barely remember what the first film was about, besides a lot of teen sex and stuff like that. So Porky's 2 and 3, again, released by Kino. Another Kino comedy from the 80s, this one, 1986. Gene Wilder directs Haunted Honeymoon. I haven't heard great things about this movie, but I want to check it out. It's Gene Wilder doing a horror movie parody comedy kind of thing. Don DeLuise looks like he's in, we'll just say, female makeup. We'll say is drag. We'll say he's in drag. Gene Wilder, Gilda Radner, Dom DeLuise. This is probably around the time where Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner were together. I think they were a couple, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, this looks like a goofy, sort of horror-themed comedy. Not supposed to be great, but for Gene Wilder, I will check it out because I love him. He's one of my favorite comedic talents. Quick, short little anecdote. Towards the end of Gene Wilder's life, he lived in my hometown, Stamford, Connecticut. In fact, he lived there for a long time. And my father had a little side job where he was picking up medicine from the pharmacy and delivering it to all these people. One of the people he delivered medicine to was Gene Wilder. He lived on the beach where I grew up on the coast, and my father used to say that he was such a curmudgeon. He was such an asshole. He wouldn't even make eye contact with my father, wouldn't say anything to him. He just kind of looked on him like a peon, So that was kind of sad. But Wilder was losing his mind. He was, in dementia and stuff like that. But that my father used to tell me how much of an asshole Gene Wilder seemed to him. So that's a quick little anecdote. But again, a comedic great. And I love Gene Wilder. So I'm looking forward to checking out Haunted Honeymoon. By the way, a lot of these I had on DVD, and I sold the DVDs and, made some money, and then the trade, so I really made out like a bandit here. We've got Wanted Dead or Alive. This is a Rutger Hauer, crime action film. Gene Simmons is apparently in it. Robert Guillaume is in it. I know that name. I don't know what I've seen him in, however. It might say on the back. TV's Benson, alright, that doesn't do anything for me. Now, the cool thing about this is Gary Sherman directed this. Gary Sherman made one of my favorite, most underrated 80s horror films, one of my favorite horror films of all time, Dead and Buried. And Gary Sherman also did, Raw Meat, which is known as Deathline, also known as Deathline, a 70s horror film. So a very good filmmaker. I've seen those two films and I really enjoy them, especially Dead and Buried. Raw Meat I like, not as much as Dead and Buried, but very good film still. Very atmospheric. So I'm hoping Gary Sherman brings something to the action-crime genre here. I'm not sure if this is more of an action film or more of a crime film. But it has Rutger Hauer on the back with a combat shotgun, with a scope, I guess. I don't know. And it also has Gene Simmons in a phone booth on the back. So there you go. Oh yeah, it says Gary Sherman, Dead and Buried, Vice Squad, Raw Meat. That's right, he did Vice Squad too. So I don't know anything about the plot of this film, Wanted Dead or Alive. I'm counting on you guys to, let me know which films of these you recommend, which ones I should, prioritize in terms of viewing. So, Wanted Dead or Alive. I love Rutger Hauer. He's just a badass motherfucker. And that's a great cover, too. I don't know why he has to have the shotgun behind his back and looking coolly at the camera, but it's pretty badass. So, Wanted Dead or Alive, another Kino release. Does this have reversible artwork? No, it does not. This Haunted Honeymoon? No, it does not. That's okay. And we have She. Now, I've not seen the original She, which was one of the early films that Harryhausen worked on. Marion C. Cooper, Harryhausen, very early special effects film based on an old novel, I want to say. An old, like, adventure fantasy novel. This film is from the 80s. This is an 80s update, sort of a remake, if I'm not mistaken. Honestly, it could have nothing to do with the original one. Let me see. Oh, yeah, okay. Based on the novel by H. Rider Haggard. That's right. And Haggard wrote King Solomon's Mines, and a lot of the inspiration for things like Indiana Jones came from these 19th century novels by I'm sorry, I always get that mixed up, H. Rider Haggard. So this one's directed by Nicholas Wentworth. It is a remake or a newer adaptation of the story She. And I don't know much about the story because I've not read it, not seen the original film from the 30s, I want to say, late 30s. And I haven't seen this one, but it looks super fun. Looks like good set design, good character, good costume design. It looks like a goofy, fun fantasy film with a really cool cover here. And so from 1985, Kino put this out. Looking forward to checking this out. And last but not least, I somehow managed to make the coolest piece of this whole trade, the most valuable to me, and probably monetarily as well. This is a movie I've been dying to get on Blu-ray, and when he sent me the Instagram message, he was like, I think you're going to really like some of these Blu-rays, and he was not kidding. I quickly sold off my DVDs that I've had since the 90s, probably late 90s, early 2000s, whenever they came out. And I finally have Ernest, Scared Stupid, on Blu-ray. Guys, this is really hard to find. So Colton did me a solid by trading this one away. And it's gone to a good home, Colton, as you know. Thank you so much. This means so much to me. One of my favorite childhood films. I can't wait to watch this in glorious HD and relive my childhood memories. I do watch this every few years. I've watched it every few years on DVD just for nostalgia's sake around the Halloween time in October. It's just such a wholesome, fun, sort of comedy horror adventure made for the entire family. It's got some really dark moments too, like all 90s horror themed movies that were geared towards children. It has really dark moments, like children basically, they don't die, but the children become stone, and it would frighten the hell out of me as a kid. I was like, oh my god. It's just such a goofy film, and Ernest is in top form here. Jim Varney is in top form. Know what I mean, Vern? This movie is probably the best Ernest movie. I love Ernest Goes to Camp. I really like Ernest Goes to Jail. Ernest Saves Christmas is great too, but this one, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's the horror themes that I've always loved even as a kid. This one means a lot to me. So thank you so much, Colton. I can't wait to watch this on Blu-ray. Now that it's in the collection, I only need a few other Ernest movies that are on Blu-ray. Not all of them are on Blu-ray, like Ernest Slam Dunk and Ernest Goes to Africa, ones that nobody really talks about that don't hold up quite too well. I don't think those will ever make it to Blu-ray. But I do have a lot of the Ernest films on Blu-ray at this point, and now I have Ernest Scared Stupid. Mill Creek put this out, and it is out of print and hard to find. Again, thank you so much, Colton. I really appreciate the trade, my friend. That's going to do it for this little unboxing video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, I know I thanked you 100 times, Colton, but thank you so much for working out this trade with me, and Ernest Scared Stupid means a lot to me, as do all of these films. I hope I fall in love with them. Again, check out Colton's Instagram. That is Ghoulies_can_read. He's got a really cool Instagram, so check that out, guys. Again, I'd love to know what you guys have picked up lately, so feel free to leave that down in the comments below, and we'll get a little discussion result. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel and want to see more videos like it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, as well as the little bell for notifications. I also have a Patreon and t-shirts. Links are in the description below, so feel free to check those out, if you so please. Anyway, guys, BoredCyborg. No, that's not right. Anyway, guys, I will see you all next time. BoredCyborg is out. That felt good. Roll!